This is Ecotricity's EcoTEC roundup show from Aotearoa's only carbon zero certified renewable electricity company. We only source from wind, hydro and solar, and we are the leading supplier of electricity to electric vehicles in Aotearoa. Switch today at ecotricity.co.nz. Welcome back to another episode of news in the world of clean cars and green energy. Thanks for joining me. We start today with a mega story from Tesla's most recent Investor Day, which took place earlier this week. During the 4-hour-long presentation, Tesla executives detailed some of Tesla's plans for the coming year, reiterating Tesla's goal of achieving 20 million electric cars per year by 2030, something which will require Tesla to continue to build its existing vehicle lineup as well as introduce 2 new models. Very little was said about the next generation of Teslas, but the company said that it would be expanding Tesla's vehicle production facilities to achieve increased output, building a new Tesla Gigafactory in Mexico near to Monterrey, and expanding existing production facilities too. There are plans afoot for a new 50 gigawatt-hour a year lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, Texas, and an expansion at every part of Tesla's already heavily controlled vertical integration process. Tesla's next generation models will, we're told, result in a 40% reduction in manufacturing plant footprint and a 50% reduction in assembly costs thanks to a streamlined production process. Motors for next generation vehicles will be free of rare earth metals, essentially meaning Tesla will return to using permanent magnet motors that don't use rare earth metals, while Tesla's next generation powertrains will use 75% less silicon carbide in them. Tesla executives say the new drivetrains being developed will also be battery chemistry agnostic, further improving cost savings as they'll be capable of being paired with whatever battery chemistry is chosen at the time. Also confirmed at the event was the news that Tesla plans on implementing V2G capabilities in its cars by 2025, although Elon Musk remains skeptical that many people will use that functionality. Tesla has made its 4 millionth EV. It's also officially opened up a handful of superchargers in the US for non-Tesla owners to use at rates of between 49 cents and 52 cents per kilowatt hour, is implementing a unlimited charging plan for Tesla customers, offering $1 per night unlimited charging at home thanks to Tesla Energy, and it plans to branch into home heat pumps and air conditioning systems in the near future. There were also teasers of progress with Tesla's robot and a hint at what Tesla might be working on in the form of a wireless charging system for its cars. Back in December last year, the White House announced that it had reached a deal with the US Postal Service to electrify a substantial portion of the mail delivery fleet. That was quite a coup for the White House at the time, as Postmaster General Louis DeJoy had resisted the call to electric for some time, justifying the decision by spouting some pretty old-hand myths about EVs. But this week we saw the first true movement on the issue of the US Post Office going electric when it announced it would be installing 14,000 EV charging stations at depots across the US and had signed a deal with Ford to acquire 9,250 Ford E-Transits for use in its fleet. It is a start, but there's still a long way to go. As promised, Volkswagen unveiled its facelifted ID3 electric car this week. Given this is effectively what's known as a mid-cycle refresh, the ID3 isn't hugely different in its design or specs. From the outside, the door panels have been remodeled slightly, and the front and rear light clusters have been given a change. There are now new LED headlights and taillights, as well as new aero-optimized wheels and a new slew of paint choices. Inside, there's no animal-free trim, more recycled content, and a revised in-car computer system that uses a new system called ICAS, In-Car Application Server. EV-aware route planning, user interface, and connected services all get an upgrade. Pricing will be released shortly. While it's undeniable that buying an electric vehicle is far cleaner than buying a comparable internal combustion engine vehicle, some EVs are greener than others. This week, the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy published its yearly greener car ratings for both internal combustion and plug-in vehicles. It shows that if you want the greenest car, it needs to be electric and small. This year, the Mini Cooper SE was named the greenest of the green, followed by the Nissan Leaf, Mazda MX-30 EV, Toyota BZ4X and Subaru Solterra. The ratings took into account all of the resources used during manufacturing, lifespan and recycling. The larger the vehicle, the more environmental damage. Rivian published its fourth quarter financials this week, as well as its financial year 2022 results, showing increased production and a mix of misses and hits on Wall Street predictions. Rivian produced 10,020 vehicles last quarter, delivering 8,054 of the same. In terms of financials, it closed out the quarter with $663 million in revenue, less than the $742 million that Wall Street had predicted. Its adjusted loss sat at $1.73 per share, better than the $1.94 that Wall Street expected. Looking forward, Rivian says it hopes to achieve a positive gross profit next year. Polestar also released its fourth quarter and year-end results this week, showing that despite technically being a startup, it's hit the ground running. Polestar did not break down its quarterly production figures, but said it produced 51,491 cars last year, more than its 50,000 vehicle goal and an 80% improvement on the previous year. Revenues for the year were a healthy $2.5 billion, beating Wall Street's expected $2.4 billion figure. It ended the year with a net loss of $465 million adjusted, which is less than half of the losses it sustained in the previous year. This lays some very good groundwork for a very good year ahead for the brand. This year, and we're only in March, has been full of US politicians trying to outdo each other, doing absurd things in their local and national legislature, and this story is a doozy from Florida. In addition to being a state that at the forefront of the so-called war on woke, a Floridian state senator has been expressing his concern about electric vehicles and hurricanes. During a Florida Senate committee hearing of the state's Department of Transportation's plans to use allocated money from last year's federal infrastructure law to expand EV charging in the state of Florida, State Senator Martin said he felt EVs should be banned from using evacuation routes during storms because EVs will run out of charge, block the highway and prevent other people from escaping. No, I'm not joking. I wish I was, but sadly I'm not. Before we get to the last two stories, a quick question. Are you in the market for a new electric car? If you are, and you are in Aotearoa, you should totally check out our very own buyer's guide at ecotricity.co.nz. It is packed with all the information you need to pick a car that's right for you and includes plenty of details about incentives you can get, charging providers you can use, and of course, how to get clean energy at home. So follow the link below and start your journey today. If you've owned an electric vehicle in the last decade or so, you might be familiar with the fact that some EV motors produce a fair amount of radio interference on the AM radio band. That interference, while possible to alleviate using more robust motor circuit design, makes listening to the AM radio a bit hard, and many automakers, including BMW, Tesla and Ford, are removing AM radios from their cars completely because of that poor reception and interference. However, several former federal emergency officials in the United States are warning that dropping AM radio could make it harder for car owners to pick up emergency transmissions, which are traditionally still transmitted in the US on the AM frequency. Given AM can travel further than FM and requires lower power transmitters, I do think that keeping AM in our cars makes sense. And finally, as we've opined plenty of late, while it's great to see more and more new EVs coming to market, it's also super important to make sure that repair specialists are ready to work on them. Training to work on EVs isn't exactly that cheap though, and that means not every university autotech program includes EVs in their training. But now the University of Michigan has joined the state's EV Scholars program to expand EV training for its students. Take the program as a tech student and you'll be eligible to receive up to $1,000 once you've completed the program and you've worked for a year at any of the participating employers in Michigan State who work in the EV sector. It is great to see programs like this come into existence, and I cannot wait to see more all around the world. And if you know of one near to you, don't forget to tell us about it below. And on that note, we are done for the day. But before I go, I do want to make sure that you have subscribed to this channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on the latest in EV and clean energy news from this channel. And while I'm at it, if you haven't already switched to Aotearoa's only 100% carbon zero certified renewable electricity company, it is high time you did. Go on, make sure you do it now. You'll help wean the nation off fossil fuels and onto clean, green power that will keep the land beautiful for generations to come. I will be back next week, as usual, with another news roundup, and the lovely Gavin Kiwi EV Shoebridge has some great content lined up for you this week. I just know it. He's doing some amazing things, and I have to say, he does all the fun stuff and I get to do the boring stuff in the studio. But make sure you watch his videos because they're awesome. I'll be back, as I said, next week. But until then, I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield. Ka kite! Take care.